When you see people dancing tango, you see them do a lot of these sort of figure of eight movements. These are called ochos, which is loosely Spanish for eight. My Spanish pronunciation is not great, so it's Spanish-ish. Spanish, yes. Yeah. An ocho, a backward ocho, looks something like this. So what's happening? There's a few things going on here that are useful tango techniques, and as you'll discover throughout this video series, it's not so much about steps in tango, it's more about technique. Things that you learn doing these steps create everything else that you see, from the big leg wraps and everything else that goes on the stage. It all comes from these fundamental techniques. So what's happening? We start off in hold, do our little balanceo. We're going to start with the side step just to make it a bit easier. Now, I need to aim her so that she can take a step backwards. Pivot her and aim her again. Pivot her and aim her again. Step, one more. Pivot, aim. Now I'm going to straighten her up, change weight and walk out. So how? Firstly, my hips keep facing in the direction of travel the whole time. So as I pivot her, do my side step, I pivot her, it's just my upper body that moves. Yeah, so when I'm side stepping, I'm not going like that and then having to step like that. It's strange. Side step, pivot, I change weight. Side step, pivot. Side step, pivot. Yeah? Now it's important that you break everything down so that you're not blurring bits together. Because if you try and do all of this kind of as one smudged together move, you end up throwing her balance off. It's what I call motorbiking. So when you're going around a corner, it's like leaning into the corner with the motor when you're on a motorbike. It doesn't work in tango. You need to get somewhere, aim. In this case, I'm now changing weight because I need to go that way again. Step, aim, step, aim, change weight, walk out. So keep everything as discrete actions so that your pivots and your steps, pivot, step, pivot, step, it all happens separately. So why do we have to make sure that the steps are, or the sections of the steps are all done discreetly, one at a time? It's so that we don't end up compromising our followers' axis and balance. Because if I sidestep here, let her get to balance, pivot, let her get to balance, change weight, do the side step, pivot. All the time she has time to make sure she's balanced and that she's in position and ready for the next bit. Whereas if I rush it, she doesn't. So I'm already turning her before she gets where she's going, and the whole thing, I can feel her swaying backwards and forwards. So if you feel that there's this fighting connection going on in there, try breaking everything down. Now that doesn't mean that you can't dance quickly. You can still do it faster, but you still have to remember to finish each bit before you start the next bit. So at any point where my weight is together, I should be able to stop and put a delay in if I need to. So all the time, when we're collected, our weight is centered, we're nicely balanced. When I'm pivoting her, she needs to stay on her own axis. So as I pivot her, I turn my body, she rotates on her own axis. If I've got too tight a grip with my arm, this will go a little bit out of balance. So if we start here, and I keep too tight a grip and I don't move my right hand, we can get away with that. Now when I pivot her here, no, it's not tango. So how do we get around that? This connection, both her left hand and my right hand, need to be slightly adaptable. Side step, pivot. See, I've led her, but she rotates in my hold. Now if you watch, if we turn this way for a second, watch what happens to her hand as well. So as I rotate her, her hand slides down and back and down and back. Now this isn't something that you do afterwards. This comes of keeping your frame in the shape that you started in, and don't just keep your hand gripping onto your partner. Because what I see a lot of people do is that they do the turn and then move the hand. And that looks weird and it doesn't really help a lot. So if we get there and then I turn and then they slide the hand. Turn and then we're all trapped and then they reposition. There we go. It needs to be as one. So as you're rotating, you have this slightly flexible telescopic connection. Now you see, I'm not having to twist a huge amount. She's feeling the lead. I'm not having to go all the way around to there, lead, all the way around to there, lead. You know, it's more subtle than that. You get a nice little rotation from a small amount of movement. You can see my feet are together, her feet are together. So all the time I'm keeping my feet together. Change weight. Step. 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 Together. Change weight. Walk out. Why do I have that change weight at the end? Because I know which foot she's landed on, and if I don't change weight at the end, I'll end up treading on her foot. Because at this point, we've come back to there, straightened her up. I'm now, my free foot is my left, her free foot is her left, so if I go forwards, we're going to collide. So I change weight and then we can walk out neatly. Because our feet stay in line the whole time.